Cop accuses black couple of trespassing on their own property, instantly regrets it. On Maple Street, every lawn looked the same, trimmed hedges, bright porches, the hum of sprinklers before sunrise. It was the kind of neighborhood that called itself quiet and believed it. When Jordan Ellis and his wife Maya moved into the pale blue house at the corner, they thought they were stepping into peace, the reward for years of saving, of double shifts, of hope. Maya was a nurse at St. Vincent's Hospital, known for her calm voice even on the worst nights. Jordan taught history at a local high school and dreamed of writing a book about courage, the kind that exists in ordinary people. To them, this house meant stability, safety, and maybe, finally, belonging. The first few days were full of laughter and cardboard boxes. The smell of new paint, the echo of footsteps on empty floors. The little boy next door, Ethan, waved shyly from his bike. But before Jordan could wave back, his mother, Mrs. Cranford, called him inside. Curtains moved. Faces appeared, then disappeared. It wasn't unfriendly, just cautious, like they were still deciding if the new couple fit the picture they were used to. Jordan didn't say anything. He just smiled and kept carrying boxes. He'd learned long ago that silence was sometimes the only language people understood. 2 weeks later, Maya came home from a 12-hour night shift, her eyes half shut, her body heavy with exhaustion. She parked in her own driveway, unlocked her own front door, and froze at the sound of sirens. 2 police cars rolled up fast, red and blue lights scattering across the new paint of their porch. "Ma'am, step away from the property," one of the officers barked. Maya turned slowly, confusion tightening her chest. "This is my house," she said softly, holding up her ID. The officer's hand hovered near his belt. "We got a report of suspicious activity. A woman trying to enter through the back." Her voice trembled, but she stood tall. "I live here. My name is on the deed." A few minutes later, Jordan came running out in pajamas, barefoot on the wet concrete. "What's going on?" The officers didn't answer him directly, they only stared. After they verified their IDs and checked the address, they muttered about a misunderstanding. No apology. No explanation. Just the hollow silence of power moving on. When the cruisers finally left, the street was still again, but something had changed. Maya leaned against the door and whispered, "They thought I didn't belong here." Jordan said nothing, he just reached for her hand. The next week, the neighbors organized a welcome barbecue. Plastic chairs, paper plates, fake smiles. The air smelled of grilled meat and suspicion. Jordan stood near the grill, flipping burgers, while a group of men talked nearby. "He's a teacher, right?" one whispered. "Surprised they could afford this area." Another laughed softly, "Maybe one of those housing programs helped." Maya heard it, but pretended she didn't. She smiled at Mrs. Cranford, who smiled back just enough to be polite. But the weight of every whisper pressed down heavier than smoke. One night, weeks later, a storm rolled in, loud thunder, flashing lightning, the kind that shakes the walls. A power line fell somewhere near the corner of the street. The neighborhood went dark. Jordan grabbed a flashlight and stepped outside to check the breaker box behind their fence. Rain poured down his neck, soaking through his shirt. He saw the faint glow of a light across the street, the Cranford's house, and waved to show he was okay. No one waved back. 5 minutes later, red and blue lights again. "Sir, step away from the property," the officer shouted. Jordan blinked in disbelief. Again. The same voice, the same man. "We got a call about a prowler." "A prowler?" "I'm fixing my power." Jordan's hands rose instinctively as the flashlight hit his face. His heart pounded. It wasn't just fear, it was exhaustion. The kind that comes from realizing your safety depends on someone else's comfort. The next morning, a neighbor's shaky phone video of the scene had already made its way online. The comments were brutal. He should have just listened. Always playing the victim. Maya turned the laptop off. "We should move," she said quietly. Jordan's eyes stayed on the dark screen. "If we move, nothing changes. They'll just do it to someone else." Days later, the homeowners association called a safety meeting. The same polite faces, the same folding chairs in the community hall. "We're all neighbors here," the HOA president began. We just need better communication. Jordan raised his hand. Communication didn't stop someone from calling the police on me twice. The room went still. Mrs. Cranford shifted uncomfortably. People just get nervous, she said softly. It's not personal. Jordan looked at her. It's never personal until someone can't breathe. For a moment, no one spoke. Then the president cleared his throat, mumbled something about improving understanding, and moved on. The following afternoon, Ethan's basketball rolled into the Elisa's yard. Jordan picked it up and tossed it back. The boy smiled. Thanks, Mr. Ellis. For the first time, his mother, Mrs. Cranford, smiled too, hesitant but real. The next morning, she came to their door with a pie in her hands. I saw that video again, she said, voice low. I'm sorry I didn't say something sooner. Maya smiled gently. Saying something now still matters. Over the next few months, things began to shift. A few more neighbors stopped by to talk. One man asked Jordan to help with his kid's history project. Maya started hosting free blood pressure checks for elderly residents. Slowly, suspicion turned into recognition. People started seeing them, not as strangers, but as part of the street. 1 year later, Maple Street looked the same lawns, same mailboxes, but it felt different. That summer, instead of the US barbecue, the neighborhood held a community talk on bias and safety. They sat in circles, not rows. They listened. And for the first time, people spoke honestly. Mrs. Cranford stood up and said, I made that first call. I thought I was protecting my son. I was wrong. No one clapped. No one judged. They just listened. As the sun set behind the rooftops, Maya and Jordan sat on their porch, coffee mugs in hand. The air smelled like cut grass and second chances. You ever regret staying? Maya asked quietly. Jordan smiled. Sometimes. But then I remember, we didn't stay for us. We stayed for what comes after. A small wooden sign hung beside their front door now, one Ethan had painted at school and left as a surprise. It read, This house believes in belonging. The wind moved softly through the trees as the streetlights flickered on. Cars passed, kids laughed, and for the first time, Maple Street truly felt like home. Because change doesn't come from loud speeches or quick apologies. It starts when someone decides not to leave, when someone stays long enough to be seen not as different, but as real. And that's what Jordan and Maya taught their neighbors. Sometimes, the bravest thing you can do isn't fighting or fleeing, it's simply staying human in a world that keeps trying to forget you are.